Good morning, YouTubers. T Square with T Square Talk. Hope everybody's having a great day. I got a great video planned out for you guys today. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Fed meeting and what could happen, but I also want to talk a little bit more about possible the Fed meeting squaring off with Donald Trump and the president, how that could play out down the road. I think there's a lot of stuff behind the works that's being seen. There's a lot of news articles talking a little bit about it, but they're not really telling you everything, I don't think, as some of y'all might suspect too. I also want to talk a little bit about what happened yesterday, and it kind of gave me an idea a little bit for a video where I want to talk a little bit about how many people out there maybe invest in gold and silver, and we don't know it. So I've heard someone actually told me not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, like, hey, not everybody shares their finances. Not everybody talks about their position, So, and I agree with that. I mean, I talk a lot about my position a little bit and what's going on with me because I'm a YouTuber. I'm kind of public. I don't mind sharing. I don't have anything really super personal that I can think of that I would care to. It doesn't bother me. I'm pretty open book. And that's a possibility. But when I heard someone that is doing some work on one of my properties for me, we're just casually talking, and he goes, all these people that don't want to work, a lot of people don't want to work now. They're getting a check from the government or whatever the case may be, and they don't want to go to work. And so it's hard to find people that are willing to work nowadays. And he goes, eventually those checks are going to stop, and then the dollar's just going to go kaput. And I was like, huh? I talk about that, but I've never really heard too many mainstream people that are just, living their normal lives. I'm like, these people don't normally know about it. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about that. And it threw me for a loop when I heard him say that. And then at that point, I just wanted to hear what he had to say, because he strikes me as pretty just straight. You don't hear, sometimes people, they go to work, they go the motions, and they're not really doing anything productive, it seems like. And so I hate to say that like that. It may come across wrong. There's some stuff I know about the guy too that's kind of maybe personal for him, so I'm not going too much into it, but I'm just like, wow, to hear someone say that, it makes me feel like they knew. And then I wanted to pick the brain a little bit and see how much they knew. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today too. If you enjoyed today's video, please take a quick minute, hit that thumbs up button. I know yesterday some people might have gotten thrown off by the video that I put up yesterday. So the video I put up was a old unused video. And it was kind of an emergency because I had some issues come up yesterday I had to take care of. I had to be at the other house at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And so I was like, oh my word, I don't have time to film a video today. And I looked at old videos that I had that kind of fit still what's going on. A lot of times I might use a video and then I don't like the way it comes out. And so that's why I said emergency came up, old unused video, but still good information. And I talked a little bit about selling silver. So selling silver, obviously, some people, they buy a lot at one time and they just say, you know what, I'll make do with what I got the rest of the month. And some people, they just want to stick to the exact script. And if I know I owe $1,000 in bills this month, well, I'm just going to put away the $1,000 and that's it. And they don't push themselves a little bit more to achieve more ounces, to grow their goals, that kind of thing. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that. I don't mind pushing myself, and if I have to sell a little bit, I'll sell a little bit to get by. So that's kind of what I was trying to point out in yesterday's video. So with that being said, though, we're going to jump into today's video because I do kind of have a lot to cover. So let's jump right in. Let's find out what's going on with the prices. So right off the bat on the silver price, we got the silver trading at $38.08. So it's still hovering right around that $38 mark. A lot of people wondering what the Fed's going to do. Are they going to cut interest rates or not? We're going to talk more about, obviously, that here in today's video. Personally, I don't think they're going to cut rates. And I think it's going to square off to be possibly a bigger problem than a lot of people are anticipating. Next, we have gold. Gold trading at 3,314, well, 3,315, we'll say. Only 10 cents off. Pretty much came down on the 25th and now working its way back up again. So is that actually right? Hold on, let me hit that. Yeah, right there. So came down a little bit on the 25th and then slowly starting to come back up a little bit. But we just came off of a fairly good drop over the last, week. So we'll see how that plays out. Taking a quick look at Bitcoin, we got Bitcoin trading at $115,000, down $3,000 or 2.5%. I'm curious to see how long Bitcoin can stay up this high. But here's the thing to remember. A lot of big companies are buying up Bitcoin right now, and they're just holding it. They really, in my opinion, don't have essentially as much to lose. I hate to say this because it's shareholder money in most cases. So I think they can afford to be a little bit more riskier on it because it ain't their money. I mean, a lot of people aren't willing to put their money into it, but they're willing to invest other people's money in something. So with that being said, we'll jump over to the DXY. These are key charts that I always like to check on what's going on with them every day. We got the DXY trading at 98.64, up almost a whole 1 point. And that's a good thing for the dollar, but we see this happen time and time again. The dollar strengthens as we go into the Fed meeting. And then shortly after the Fed meeting, it starts coming down again. Now, here's the thing. If this is as high as they get it, 98.6, I'll kind of be shocked that they didn't really push it up higher. I guess it was up to 98.7 before, but we'll see. We still got a couple days before the Fed meeting. I think they released their information on Wednesday, but possibly it could be actually this afternoon. But I thought, for some reason, I thought it was. I thought they released the information. Yeah, the first day of the Fed meeting, I think, is the 29th. And then it takes usually a day or two, and then they release what all was talked about. I could be wrong on that. I didn't actually check when the Fed meeting is, but I know it's this week. So obviously, I wanted to talk a little bit, too, about the Fed meeting. As a couple topics I didn't get into, I'm going to get into them here in just a minute. The Fed meeting, kind of a quick one. For those of you that haven't been following it, obviously Donald Trump wants to see lower interest rates. He thinks it will help the economy. But I think the Fed believes that right now with what's going on, we're seeing less of the world hold less dollars. They want to have less exposure to the U.S. dollar. I think they're preparing de-dollarization a little bit. I mean, it's a slow road. It doesn't happen overnight. A lot of people think that, if someone wants to dump the dollar, they can just dump it instantly. I want you to think about if you had trillions of dollars in, we'll just say Walmart gift cards, and you believe that Walmart is going out of business. How quick can you dump those gift cards before they just pull the plug and that's it? So we'll see. I know that sounds kind of scary to some people, like, the U.S. dollar can't pull the plug. Well, here's the thing. I'm convinced that Trump and Bassett are trying to play these new dollar-backed stable coins and possibly let the dollar essentially collapse. You got to understand, the Fed is a private entity. The Fed controls the U.S. dollar. It's in their best interest to keep the dollar going. They know that when the dollar crashes, something major could happen. They could lose control of the U.S. money, essentially. The Fed pretty much has exclusive rights to deal with it. And I think right now, Trump and Bassett would actually almost like to see something happen if they can come out on the other end and have some sort of stable coin up and running and maybe even back it to gold. It's interesting to see how much gold has been brought into the country lately. Where's that going? A lot of people don't really know. We just have theories. Some people talked about possibly the Fed audit, and they're positioning themselves to get it back, but that takes time. And some people just think that, everyday investors are buying up gold because gold has been on a tear. I mean, it still looks really good, and I think it's going to continue to go higher and higher. I had someone ask me yesterday, how high do you think gold could get by the end of the year? I would not be surprised to see $4,000 gold by the end of the year, and I would not be surprised to see $45 or $50 silver by the end of the year. year. So we'll see how that plays out as it gets going. Now, I want to talk a few minutes now about what I had said earlier about the everyday people, maybe not really talking about their positioning. Now, I'll be honest, right off the bat, I got to say, I don't think the majority of people out there are all stacking silver, by no means. However, I think there could be more people out there that understand now that something is going on, but they don't know what. They've maybe stumbled across an article about de-dollarization and the dollar going downhill. Maybe they talked to a friend about it. Maybe they saw a YouTube video about either silver and gold or even crypto. Because here's the thing, and I've said this time and time again, people that promote crypto and talk about crypto, a lot of those people use the same exact arguments for silver and gold as they do for cryptocurrencies. They might say, that the de-dollarization, so more people will put their money elsewhere. Silver, gold, maybe. Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe. They might tell you that, there's a limited amount of silver and gold, and that's why it protects your wealth, because they can't print it to oblivion. Well, the same argument can be said for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a lot of different cryptos out there, that there's a limited amount of it, and therefore that's why you should be investing in it. And the arguments go on when it comes to gold and silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum. A lot of them run together. The only big difference between the two is physical. Which one is physical? Gold and silver is something physical. It doesn't matter if the power goes out. It doesn't matter if the grid go down. And I'll be the first one to say, tomorrow, if the grid went down in the United States, it does not mean that Bitcoin is over. Just because you can't access your Bitcoin does not mean that your Bitcoin is not there. These accounts, these wallets that people set up, some of them have Bitcoin and they don't even have access to it anymore. They just don't have access to their account for whatever the different reasons are. There's a lot of different reasons. And, it's a problem. If you don't have access to it when you need it, there's almost no point in having it. It's like having an insurance policy, but then you can't access it when your house gets blown away. You want to make sure you're prepared for whatever comes down the line. And I think a lot more people are just waking up to that. Like I said, when this gentleman that I was sitting next to started talking about gold and silver, I was kind of shocked. He said, the government money, basically the checks could stop coming in for a lot of people, whether that be Social Security, whether that be welfare, whether that be retirement, military, or even political. Anything can happen. And it can happen fast. And I know some people can't fathom the idea of your Social Security not being there when you go to retire. But the truth of the matter is they keep extending it out. I mean, most people probably won't even be around by the time they're able to collect Social Security. I hate to say that. A lot of people won't be. I can tell you that my dad passed away at 69. My mom passed away at 69. And I've wrote it up as maybe I'll be 69. I don't drink, I don't smoke, but I tend to eat a lot of fast food. It's habit. It's easy for me to stop at Whataburger in the morning or stop at Sonic, especially if I've got to get out and get stuff done. I don't have time maybe to cook breakfast. When it's hot in the summer, I don't like doing a lot of cooking anyway. I just want to kind of take it easy. And I can tell you though, in food inflation, it's bad. You go and eat out somewhere, it has gotten expensive. Plates of food now, $25. I'm like, what in the world? I remember when you get a whole buffet for that. Now you're out $20 if you just eat somewhere, even on a lunchtime. And that's pushing. How many people go to Subway? I actually had Subway for dinner this evening because it was 9:45 before I got home because I was working on my other house, and I always like to be the last person to leave. I want to be the last person to leave, so I make sure everything is exactly the way I like it, and I like to be the first one to get there in the morning to make sure that stuff is out and ready to go. And so I went Subway. It was real quick. A $16 sandwich without a coupon. I actually walked in and I had a sheet of coupons, Subway coupons, and I was like, hold on a minute before you start making those. He's like, what? I said, these coupons are expired. I got to go back out to my car and see if I have another sheet. I'm not going to pay $15 for a Subway sandwich. You remember when they were $5 foot long? Some of y'all probably even remember lower prices, but I remember when I was younger working at Subway when it was $5 foot longs. Then it went to $5.99 foot longs, $6.99 foot longs, and I'm not willing to pay over $7 really for a sandwich. It's just not my thing, I guess you can say. Do I like them? They're quick, easy, but if it ain't cheap, who knows? I like them too because you get a lot of vegetables. I push a lot of vegetables in there to where it's almost like a salad on a sandwich. Where am I going with this? Essentially, just inflation is getting out of hand. And a lot of that has to do with them continuing to print money. And the more money they print, the less the money that you hold is going to be worth. That's why a lot of us are pushing into gold and silver. It's not just the emergency of one day the check will stop. It's also one day the check won't buy you anything. You literally could go, wake up one morning, get your check, go to the grocery store, and just stuff is all starting to rise rapidly right in front of you. Now, a lot of people say that can't happen like that. Once the gas price starts going up and big companies realize what's going on, they will start jacking their prices. Grocery stores, Walmart, H-E-B, Shaw's, Hannaford, all these places are going to start jacking the price up really quick. And it's going to happen fast, and that's assume we don't go to full-blown hyperinflation or even the full-blown, it don't matter what food will cost, you won't even be able to get it. Now, I don't say that to scare people. I don't want people being nervous because I've seen too many times people get freaked out by something and all of a sudden they want to go and buy out the grocery store and put it in their pantry. And I think it's really important that you have a certain amount of food on standby, but it doesn't matter, what you pick up. Pick up a little extra each week, just stuff that you're using, a little extra each week, and put it in the pantry. Be prepared, So we'll see how this plays out. I can't wait to find out what the Fed is going to do, because if they don't cut interest rates, I think we could see a huge political storm coming. And I know a lot of people are following this, building updates. They're doing building upgrades at the Fed and spending more money. I don't know how many of you have seen the speech between Trump and the news as Jerome Powell was standing right there beside him. You got Jerome Powell shaking his head, no, no, no. And you got Donald Trump saying they're well over budget and this and that and money's being wasted. And Jerome Powell the whole time is just shaking his head no. This is going to get interesting to see how this plays out. Actually, there was a news person that actually asked Trump, what could Jerome Powell say or do to make you kind of leave him alone about this Fed building upgrades? Putting a new basement in over here and a new this over there. And he's like, they could cut interest rates, So I'm curious to see. I mean, Jerome Powell's got a lot of pressure behind him. I think ultimately keeping interest rates high essentially makes people maybe be more tempted to want to invest in the dollar. And it does fight inflation. But the problem is the damage is done. I talked to one friend of mine the other day. He said it doesn't matter. The road they're on, there's no coming back from it. We are heading towards a financial cliff. And eventually we're going to hit it. We can't keep it off forever. So we'll see what happens. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did enjoy today's video, please take a quick minute, hit that thumbs up button. Check out some of these other great videos. I try to post videos every Monday through Friday. A special thank you to Dave and Unknown. Both of them have sent me some coins to give away. I'm super excited to do the giveaway. I actually did receive an email last night from Dave, and just to make sure that I did get his package and stuff, and I did, but I wasn't sure who it was from, and so that's why I couldn't say anything online, because I didn't want to say what was in there, and then anybody could say they sent it. So once he sent me that, I said, well, that's who it was then. And then he linked. For some reason, none of my emails are linking up to previous emails. It is driving me nuts right now, because if you email me and you don't thread it, I guess they call it, then I don't see your previous email, and so it kind of gets lost in the stream. I do still have prizes for 2 people. Not counting the 2 that I'm actually giving it to him in person. But I just kind of wanted to say that Hillbilly Stock Picks and Ann, I still have your prizes. So we'll work on that. One of y'all has a new address to ship it to. The other one, it's just I'm overwhelmed right this second now with something that came up at that house. They're remodeling, and there was a major issue that came up, and I was like, oh my word, and I haven't like slept at all for the last 48 hours. I'm about ready to go to bed, but it's 1 o'clock, and I got to be back up at like 6 tomorrow. So I'm like, it's taking its toll right now. I can't wait for the weekend. I've never looked forward to a weekend as much as I do right now. With that being said, I thank everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys again on T Square Talk. Hit that thumbs up, leave me a comment, and I will talk to y'all later. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. Bye-bye. Great day, I should say. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.